What if I told you that the world map as we know it could have been significantly different if not for a single, often overlooked event in World War II? Indeed, it's the tale of the Anglo-Soviet invasion of Iran in 1941, a significant chapter in the annals of World War II that is often shadowed by the more prominent narratives of the war. This invasion was not just a military maneuver, but a strategic play with far-reaching implications on the geopolitical landscape. It was a chess move that was executed to secure Allied supply lines to the USSR, control over Iranian oil fields, and to curb the growing German influence. But, more than that, it was a move to prevent a potential Axis advance that could have tipped the scales of the war. An event of such magnitude, yet surprisingly less known. Let's dive into the story of the British and Soviet invasion of Iran. To understand the invasion, we must first look at the events that led to it. The heart of the conflict lay in the escalating tensions between Britain and Iran, which had been brewing for over a decade. The termination of the Darcy Concession in 1931 was a significant turning point. This contract had granted the British a monopoly over the extraction and sale of Iranian oil, a lucrative arrangement that left Iran in a precarious economic position. Its cancellation sent shockwaves through the diplomatic community and set the stage for a power struggle over one of the world's most valuable resources. But oil was not the only factor at play. As World War II raged on, Iran's strategic significance became increasingly apparent. Situated between the Soviet Union and British India, Iran provided a crucial link in the Allied supply chain. Its railroads could transport vital supplies from the Persian Gulf to the Soviet Union, a lifeline for the embattled Eastern Front. However, suspicions were growing about Iran's allegiances. Its ruler, Reza Shah, had shown a preference for Germany, a potential ally of convenience against the British and Soviet colonial ambitions. This pro-German sentiment, whether real or perceived, stoked fears among the Allies. They worried that Iran might become a staging ground for an Axis advance into the oil-rich Middle East, or a blockade against Soviet-bound supplies. With such stakes at hand, the stage was set for Operation Countenance. August 1941, the world watched as British and Soviet forces launched Operation Countenance. At the heart of this operation was a strategic maneuver aimed at securing Allied supply lines to the Soviet Union during the throes of World War II. The Allies were keenly aware of the strategic importance of Iran. The country's geographic location and oil resources made it a valuable asset. But there was more to this than just geography and oil. The British and Soviets were also intent on curbing German influence in the region and preventing a potential Axis advance. On the 25th of August, there were concerns about German individuals entering Iran, prompting the British and Soviet forces to demand Iran's acceptance of their protection of oil supplies and deployment of their troops into the country. British forces, led by Edward Quinnan on land and Geoffrey Arbuthnot at sea, advanced in two regions, one targeting oil installations near Abadan, and the other moving from Iraq towards Kermanshah under William Slim's command. British landings occurred at Bandar Shapur, Abadan, and Karamshar, resulting in the sinking of Iranian warships and seizure of German merchant ships. The Soviet forces, led by Vasily Novikov, advanced in three columns towards Tabriz and along the Caspian Sea, making significant progress and bombing Tabriz. By the 26th, the British had control of the Abadan region, while the Soviets entered Tabriz and bombed Tehran on the 27th. The British captured Shahabad and Awaz on the 27th, leading to the resignation of the Iranian government. A new government under Ali Fourougi took office on the 28th, ordering a ceasefire and initiating negotiations with the British and Soviets. The fighting ceased on the 29th, with the British and Soviets planning to meet at Qazvin on the 31st. Looking ahead, on September 9th, the Iranian government agreed to final terms, allowing the invaders to occupy specific locations in the country while avoiding Tehran. This military operation was known as Operation Countenance, but the invasion and occupation were not just about military and economic objectives. They also brought about a significant political shift in Iran. Reza Shah, the ruling monarch, was forced to abdicate his throne under the pressure of the occupying forces. His son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was installed as the new Shah. This change in leadership was part of the Allies' strategy to ensure a more compliant regime in Iran. The abdication of Reza Shah marked the end of an era in Iranian history. His reign had been characterized by modernization and secularization, but also by authoritarian rule. His son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, would continue his father's policies, but under the watchful eyes of the occupying forces. The occupation of Iran was a significant chapter in the broader narrative of World War II. It was a demonstration of the Allies' determination to secure their interests in the face of Axis aggression. But it was also a stark reminder of the toll that war can take on a nation and its people. Iran was now under Allied occupation, a move that would have lasting implications. The invasion and occupation of Iran were not just events in the annals of history. They were catalysts that set in motion a chain of events that would shape the future of Iran and its place in the world. The occupation of Iran wasn't to last forever. The tide of war was changing. Amidst weeks of intense confrontations, the Soviet-backed Separatist People's Republic of Azerbaijan was established on the 12th of December 1945, marking a significant development in the region's political landscape. Concurrently, the Kurdish People's Republic emerged towards the latter part of 1945. Efforts by Iranian government forces to reinstate control were met with resistance, as Red Army units obstructed their advancement. As the deadline for withdrawal loomed on the 2nd of March 1946, 6 months subsequent to the cessation of hostilities, the British commenced their withdrawal from Iranian territory. However, Moscow rebuffed calls for withdrawal, citing purported threats to Soviet security. Soviet troops remained entrenched in Iranian territories until May 1946, following Iran's formal grievance to the newly established United Nations Security Council. The departure of the British and Soviet forces was not without its complications. The geopolitical vacuum left in their wake had to be filled, and this led to a power struggle within Iran. The country was left grappling with its newfound independence, trying to find its footing in a post-war world. The end of the occupation had far-reaching implications. It marked a significant shift in Iran's relationship with the West, particularly with the United Kingdom and the Soviet Union. The seeds of distrust had been sown, and the memories of the invasion and occupation would linger on, influencing Iran's foreign policy for decades to come. The withdrawal also had a profound impact on Iran's internal politics. The abdication of Reza Shah and the ascension of his son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, to the throne marked the beginning of a new era. The young Shah was left with the daunting task of guiding his nation through a period of intense transformation and modernization. The end of the Allied occupation was indeed a watershed moment in Iran's history. It was a time of change, a time of transition, and a time of hope. It was the end of an occupation, but the beginning of a new era for Iran, a period that would shape the country's destiny and determine its place in the world order. And so, as the last of the British and Soviet troops left Iranian soil, they left behind a nation ready to embark on a new journey, to write a new chapter in its history. A chapter that would be marked by resilience, revolution, and rebirth. The end of an occupation, but the beginning of a new era for Iran. The Anglo-Soviet invasion of Iran, a pivotal event in World War II, and yet so often overlooked. We've journeyed together through the complex landscape of this historical event, from the simmering prelude to the invasion, through the tumultuous occupation, and finally to the withdrawal of British and Soviet forces. Let's revisit the key points. The invasion, known as Operation Countenance, was a strategic move by the United Kingdom and the Soviet Union in August 1941. The aim was to secure Allied supply lines to the USSR, control Iranian oil fields, curb German influence, and prevent a potential Axis advance. The invasion led to the abdication of Reza Shah and his replacement by Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, with Iran remaining under Allied occupation until 1946. But why does this matter? Why should we care about a wartime incident that happened over 80 years ago? The answer lies in the long-term impact of this invasion and occupation. It reshaped Iran's political landscape, sowed the seeds for future international conflicts, and highlighted the strategic significance of Iran during World War II. Understanding such events helps us to comprehend the interconnectedness of our world, the ripple effects of decisions made decades ago, and the intricate tapestry of our shared global history. Each event, each decision, each ripple shapes the world we live in today. So, let's not overlook the ripples. Let's keep diving into the vast reservoir of history, unearthing stories and exploring their impact. Remember, History is a vast reservoir of events, and every ripple counts. Stay curious and keep exploring. Don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing historical content.